Goddamn. So I watched Disenchanted and I fucking hated it. Like genuinely the urge of hatred just started to grow the more and more this movie continued on, and I don't think for a single cent that I have ever disliked a movie more than this one. Is it as bad as Master of Disguise, god-awful unfunny as Son of the Mask, or painfully stupid as Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance? No. But it definitely feels like I am back in the 2000s to 2010s, where a lot of movies at that era suffered the writer's strike again. I really don't know what happened here or how this had turned out differently. Disenchanted is the sequel to Enchanted, a film that basically parodies and homages elements of classic Disney princess films. What made that movie work was the dedication to making a parody of a typical cookie-cutter princess movie with all the elements you can expect: singing, dancing, Broadway numbers, and a typical wide-eyed princess character. However, there's a twist: it takes place in the real world instead of a cartoon world. The characters were likable, the presentation and music wonderful, and even though the story is bare on any complexity, it still manages to be a funny and sort of cynical take on reality vs fiction. So imagine my curiosity when a sequel was in development and how long it took to get off the ground after all these years. Did it pay off? Not really. The sequel, in fact, spits in the face of what made the original so good. Everything that I liked in the last movie has now been sucked out of its personality and traded in for what it parodied in the first place. Consider this: the Space Jam, a new legacy of Disney if you will, in terms of how cynical and lifeless the experience was. The story was bad. The whole setup is basically Giselle and Robert move into a quiet suburb away from New York, and Morgan, who is now a teenage, isn't happy. They all have to atone for living in a suburban life, such as Giselle being a stay-at-home mother, Robert being a commuter, and Morgan going to high school. For a while, it seemed like the movie was trying to tell a point, like how Giselle imagines married life being a lot different from her fairy tale world and how shitty reality is, but it doesn't go anywhere after that first part. Because it was then that Donut Lord and Elsa come over to Giselle and give her a magic wand that will grant her any wish she desires. And what does she wish for? She wishes for her reality to become like a typical, cookie-cutter Disney princess movie. From there on, she starts getting corrupted by the magic and turns into an evil stepmother/sorceress and start making everybody's life in fairy tale world worse for everybody, including her own family. And the squirrel turns into an evil cat for some odd reason. One thing you'll notice is that the animation is not very good. And I don't mean the CGI animation, it's also the 2D animation. It looks so ugly. I usually just look at most cartoons to be made with an artist's style in mind. I don't look at Steven Universe's animation and call it out for its discrepancies. Or see Rugrats and As Told by Ginger's style and call it unconventional. It's more so the creative style in animation that I look at and judge it on how well it matches up with the rest of the world they inhabit. Disenchanted's 2D animated segments look static, bland, and incredibly soulless. The models look like they were made in Adobe Animate instead of being hand-drawn like the original. Some of the designs even look different from the original's design outlook. I don't get why they couldn't just make this world hand-drawn or drawn in the style of a traditional Disney movie. The last time they did it was with The Princess and the Frog, and I would have preferred it they gone back to that style if they were doing a point-for-point Disney parody. Again, all of it just looks so ugly, especially Nancy, who is drawn much older in the movie. The rest of the 3D animation style is bad and unpolished. They all look like models I made from Blender. The performances were alright, I guess. Amy Adams still kills it as Giselle at times, and I got a laugh out of moments where she fights with herself as she is bewitched by the wand's power. Patrick Dempsey was alright. Morgan is fine. James Marsden and Idina Menzel aren't in it all that much. Maya Rudolph was funny in an exaggerated cartoonish way, but compared to the villain in the last movie, she pales in comparison. This movie needed Nathaniel. Where was Nathaniel when all this was happening? Bring back Nathaniel, damn it. but really, it's the characterization that I hate more than the performances. What made Giselle so lovable in the last movie is replaced with an even dumber version of herself. Like I said, she caused all of this to happen in the first place because she is sad that she is stuck in a reality where happily ever after is a myth, and that Morgan's teenage bratty nature causes her to be an evil stepmother because she called her that. It's like in season 2 of Star vs where Star becomes corrupted by Eclipse's magic, and just like in Star vs that plot element, it doesn't go anywhere. Same goes for Giselle, this plot about her accepting reality and living is just dropped entirely, and we don't ever see a conclusion or continuation of it at all, making her an unlikable character ultimately. The movie's writing is on par with that of Disney's DVD sequels. There was a moment where I felt bad for Robert, who has to go to work every day until the day he dies. That was the only genuine moment of human thinking that I got out of this film, and everything else just went downhill after that. The whole character dynamic between Giselle and Maya Rudolph is insanely the over-the-top in parts because they're doing this duality dynamic that clashes poorly with the message of the film. And while we're at it, I really do not like the music in this very much. I am a sucker for Alan Menken, let me admit that. I am a huge Alan Menken fan. I love almost all of his soundtracks, even the Pocahontas soundtrack I have a soft spot for. His music is just so catchy and upbeat to listen to. So it breaks my heart to say that this is now my least favorite soundtrack of his. The songs are just generic fodder, the lyrics are aggressively on the nose and irreverent. And sometimes they'll include references and allusions to other Disney songs that I'd rather be listening to instead of this. Menzel's lyrics include references to Let It Go, get it? I should know because that's the song she also sung in another popular Disney movie that just won't fade into obscurity. The songs and lyrics in Tangled may be more poppy and less Broadway focus, but at least they still kept the G minor. Here, I can't tell what vocal key they're even using because it all sounds very national anthem-like. There's no passion or effort put into any of these songs, they all felt like an AI wrote these lyrics, and none of it sounds slightly original. Alan, I love ya man. But please retire so you can save your legacy before the Disney burnout ruins you. Just pass the torch to Anderson and Lopez please. Anyway, that's about it really. Disenchanted is as what the title promotes itself. A disenchanting experience. Terrible characters, dreadful story, awful effects, the cinematography and color grading is vomit-inducing, and the songs are ear-aching. Disney is a company that continues to astonish and fascinate me in both how it has once presented itself. A studio that once filled my childhood with fun adventures, memorable characters, and extravagant song sequences, coupled with fluid and vivid animation and visuals, to becoming a soul-sucking, talent-wasting corporation that prides itself with content and quality. Yes, Disney has never been perfect and sometimes never been morally right in the past, but I do believe in moving forward and making things better. Just a while ago, I watched the Mickey Mouse documentary about how Walt Disney himself grew up and how he turned out in his life. He wasn't a perfect man himself, no matter how we spin it, he gave the world hope at some point in his life. Disney today is not giving me hope, and that's what is missing with the content they continue to pump out. Rather it be in-house, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars or 20th, they don't bring the same amount of hopeful balance they once did. Everything they do now is cynical and manipulative. I say that as a consumer of the product, yes, but if the dislike ratio of the Little Mermaid remake trailer is anything to go by, regardless of controversy, I hope they start to look at the way their audience is judging their content. I still love Disney and I want to continue to be hopeful of what they tackle next. If Sonic Frontiers is a game that can bring hope and balance back into the Sonic fanbase, and the message that Sega will continue to do better for the franchise is apparent, that just shows that no matter how imperfect we are, we can still change. Maybe I'm too naive, but change and improvement can happen if you just have your voice heard. So, maybe, just maybe, Disney can stop making terrible sequels and remakes of their IPs and start doing better at providing quality. One can only hope. Anyway, do not watch this film unless you can stomach bad dialogue. I'm gonna watch Carter, and Glass Onion is much better. I'm gonna to give this film 3/10. And thanks for watching, see you later, bye.